Good morning, lady bosses. Okay, like always, I'm going to wait a minute for somebody to come on, but I've got lots of fun announcements first thing, so we'll wait till you get here. But yeah, I'm excited about today. We're doing some great, crazy, different, fun stuff. So, okay, it's 10 o'clock and 57 seconds. Some of you pop on right at 10 o'clock, so come on, I'm going to wait for you. At least two of you pop on right on time. There we go. Rachie's here. Hi, Rachie. Okay, today, for the first time in history, we are filming Lady Bosses, hey Bunny, to a live studio audience, which is crazy. I have two ladies here, and let me tell you who they are, and then I'll tell you what they're doing here, which is so much fun. So we have Amy Mirazis, who is in this Lady Boss group. She is a video editor and a video coach, and she's building some content for, tell me if I say anything wrong, for her presence. Yes. And so part of her content is she wanted to see this behind the scenes stuff. So she's taping me setting up for this, and she's going to tape this live video. And then we have Lori Kiefer, who's also in this group, who is a photographer. Well, she's a small business owner. Photography is the great thing she does, but she does a lot of education, a lot of workshops, but she does fabulous branding sessions, and she's doing some work to do some photos for Amy to build this present. So Lori is filming Amy, who's filming me, who's filming this live video. So this is great. I love a live audience because I can hear the laughs. I can't hear that from you ladies. You're going to have to laugh a little louder. So anyway, okay, that's great. So let's get started. Now, I'm also really excited about the topic today because it's Stop Comparing Part 2. Hey, Colleen, how are you today? So I say part 2 because I did this topic about 6 months ago. Hey, Judy. Judy, glad you're here today. I know it's hard for you to always get on. Anyway, part of the thinking is it's 6 months ago that I talked about this before, but in 6 months, it's probably reared its ugly head again, and you need to talk about it again. Plus, hopefully, I can bring a little bit of a different take to it. Now, some weird stuff. I determined I was going to do this topic about 2.5 weeks ago. This morning, I'm at a networking meeting, and doesn't the gal who stand up decides to talk about comparing today. In addition to that, about a week ago, this whole comparison thing hit me like a ton of bricks and really played some havoc with me. So I don't know. I think there's something out there in the universe right now that maybe this is really going to relate on a big level to a lot of you today. So I hope so. I hope you can get some nuggets and take them away. So I'll start with what happened with me last week. I was just telling Lori and Amy, comparison is not something that affects me to a big degree. Okay, always have some issues with it, but not really to a big degree. I was raised in a family where I've just had really good health self-esteem because they really showed confidence in me and made me feel valuable. So I never had a problem with self-esteem. And as a result, I was happy in my skin and, felt pretty good about what I had to bring to the table. But last week, for whatever reason, I started thinking about this path I'm on. And, my focus this year, I really wanted to be more speaking engagements and more workshops. And all of a sudden, the whole comparison thing hit me. And I'll tell you what, when it hits you, it totally paralyzes you because once it hit me, I couldn't move forward and complete one of the action steps that I had lined up for last week because I just couldn't move forward. So what happened was, I'm thinking about this future speaking, doing workshops, and starting to think about the fact that probably 85% of the female entrepreneurs that I deal with on an almost daily basis are introducing themselves as speakers, life coaches, business coaches, authors, and it just sounds like their credentials are this huge. They have 50 letters behind their name. There's so much going on that all of a sudden it's hit me to think, like, who the hell am I to be on this path? Like, who is going to ever pay to come and listen to me talk? Who's going to want me to come and do a workshop? And really started to think, wow, what am I doing? And it just paralyzed me and I did nothing. And then I remembered one thing, and that was about a year ago, having breakfast with a girlfriend when I wanted to embark on this coaching right at the level of Lady Bosses. And I said, the thing that's bothering me right now is like, who am I? Hey, Rosie, like, who am I? What do I have to bring to the table? Because there are 50,000 women out there who are doing business coaching. I don't understand whether or not I should even be pursuing this. And what she said to me really stuck. She said, you are bringing you. And that hit me big because think about it. I don't care what you're representing. There's Rosie. Rosie does social media and she's a fabulous florist. Judy's a health coach. Colleen's a health coach. You're all, but you know what? You're not selling your product, right? Judy, you're not selling a product. You're selling Judy. Every one of us are selling ourselves. People aren't going to buy what you're doing because they need that thing real bad. Because you know what? There are 50,000 other people who are doing that thing. They're going to come to you because they want you. So when she said that, I thought, okay, I am going to bring in uniqueness, so I'm going to be different. But believe me, last week it didn't matter. Like I knew that in the back of my head, but I really got smacked down and thought, crap, this is just, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. And you know what? To tell you another story, when I was little, when I was like from the ages of 3 to 7, I sang. I took singing lessons and I sang in all our local community shows and I was like a big deal around town. And I don't think any of you on here are as old as me, but maybe a couple of you are close. But if you're as old as me, maybe you remember Peggy March. Hey, Darlene. And if you're not old enough to remember Peggy March, maybe you're old enough to remember the movie Sister Act. And do you remember all the nuns at the end singing, "I will follow him"? Well, that was her big hit in the States. Well, I grew up with her. I grew up in Little Italy with her. My aunt was married to her uncle. So we knew her. Matter of fact, her name was Peachy Batavio. She wasn't Peggy March, but I knew her and we took singing lessons together. So I sang for 4 years. And even though I was young and I was doing all the shows, I can remember my mom saying, Donna has the stage presence and she loves to do this. But in reality, my sister Jeannie has the prettier voice. And she does. And even to this day, I would love to sing. I would love to be on stage singing. But you know what? You would never pay to come and hear me sing. Now, I could take lessons. I could try to improve that as much as I could. And that improvement would be that, I would strengthen my diaphragm. I might be able to increase my range. I would be able to have, really good, I'd really be able to sing on key. But would I ever be able to change the quality and the tone of my voice? Probably not. So you know what? I could work my butt off trying to improve that as much as I could, but that's not ever something I'm going to make a living at because I'm just not good enough to do that. So here's the deal. And here's my first piece of advice. If you're embarking on something and you don't know if you're good at it or not, follow your path anyway, because you know what? You may come to the conclusion that that's not the thing you're going to be the best at. Maybe you're going to be on a different path, but you won't know till you walk that path. So that's given me a focus right now to decide I'm going to put these action steps into place. I'm going to do the things that I said I was going to do, and then we'll see where it goes. And listen, it doesn't mean do it for a month. Doesn't mean do it for 6 months. Do it for a year. Do it for a good enough amount of time that you can really be the judge and see where it goes. Because you know what? Maybe that's not the place for you. Just because you want to be a speaker doesn't mean you're going to be a great speaker and bring in lots of money doing it. It's not going to be successful for everybody. And in all honesty, I see people get on stage and some of them have great content, but no stage presence. Some of them have great stage presence, but little content. Ideally, you want to have both. But I'll tell you what, if you have great content, but no stage presence, you're going to lose people. I know if I'm watching somebody who's just, really just no personality and just talking like they're reading, they're going to lose me. I'm just not going to hear anything they have to say, and I'm probably not going to want to listen to them again. So there's so many factors that go into that. But if it's what you think you want to do, whatever it is you think you want to do everything you can to pursue that for a reasonable amount of time before you decide whether or not that's really your path. Because if that's not your path, there's another path that is so much more suited to you. So don't look at it as failure. This is just all, hey, life is a big game of exploration, right? You just try different things. It's, hey, you're throwing spaghetti at the wall, see what sticks. And this is one case of doing that. So that's where I start with. That's a whole different take on comparing, something that I don't think I've ever heard or talked about. Is just, just a different thing where, hey, yeah, stop comparing, you're you, but hey, maybe this isn't for you. That's just not something I ever really thought about. So it's something to just consider. But here we go. The problem with comparing is you're comparing yourself to other people and you're not other people, okay? In whatever you're doing, in the health coaching part of my business, I can compare myself as an introvert to an extrovert who always wants to be out there partying and having fun, and people want to be with her, and her business is just like blowing up, and mine's moving a lot more slowly. Well, you know what? Mine would be growing a whole lot more if I was her, but I'm not her. You know, people aren't going to be like, oh man, I want to do what Donna's doing because she's always so much fun to be around. She's always doing this and that. And I don't do that. So my business is going to be different. So you're comparing apples and oranges. Make sure you're not comparing yourself to somebody who's totally different than you. But that's what we do. You know, you don't have the same gifts. You don't have the same personality. You know, they have things you don't have, but you have things they don't have. So I might be the introvert, but you know what? I build maybe I can build deeper relationships because that's what I rather do than party with a whole lot of people. And those deeper relationships are going to lead to business, but is it going to be a business that explodes off the charts like somebody else's? Probably not. So be realistic about the whole picture and who you are and what your strengths are. So listen, focusing on what you have. Well, when I get this far, I need to start bringing water up here with it. Did you open your water yet? Getting a tickle. Or you know what? Could I have just a swig of it? I think this is clean enough. Look at this. This is like my favorite Christmas present from my daughter, Rachel. Thank you. I'm positive. I don't even care. It's just nothing in there is going to kill me. That feels better. Okay, so anyway, focus on your strengths. Focus on what you have. You are unique. So what do you know you're good at? Okay, if you don't know, again, let's take all the steps and figure it out. But if you do know what you're good at, work on developing that, because as you develop that and make that even better, it's going to build your self-confidence. So you're going to feel good about what you do, and you're going to know that you're becoming the expert in your field. So that's going to lessen the game of comparison, because you're going to feel more self-esteem. You're going to feel more sure of yourself. Now listen, be clear on what you want too, because depending on the business you're in, especially if you're in network marketing or direct sales, make sure you know what your goals are and that you're only pursuing your goals and not goals you feel pressured to achieve. Okay, now that means two things. Number one, you might be putting the pressure on yourself because you're comparing. Well, this is where she is. That's what I want. That's where I want to be. Is that really what you want? Is that really where you want to be? Just make sure you know. Make sure you're clear on what you want. The other thing to think about is the fact that in these organizations, a lot of time you feel pressured to achieve certain goals. Don't let anybody pressure you to think you want something you don't. Okay, make sure you're clear on what you want. That's all you have to pursue. And if people won't support you because you want something less than what they think you should want, find somewhere else. Find people who will support you and work with them. So that's really important to know. So listen, back to just the whole comparison game. We all do it. We all get crippled by it. How do you stop it? Okay. Number one, just be aware of it. If you can be aware of it, it's natural. It's totally natural to feel that way. I mean, my gosh, anything, you look at somebody like, oh, man, I wish I was going to Italy next week. I wish I was doing whatever. Just acknowledge that it's natural and it's okay, but catch it right away and immediately stop yourself. Don't feel bad about it. Again, it's natural. Acknowledge that that's a thought, but just stop right away. Stop and switch it all around. Count your blessings. I know you hear it all the time, but if you can start to put these processes into place, the more and more you put it into place, the more natural it's going to come and the less you're going to compare in the first place. So count your blessings. Start reflecting on what you have, not what they have that you think you're missing. You're not missing anything. You are built to be exactly who you are. You're not supposed to be anything else. You're supposed to be you and nothing else. So be thankful for that. And that's what you're going to work on growing. Work with the right people. Work with people who will support you and encourage you and help you grow. So you've got a lot to be thankful for. So be thankful for what you're already blessed with. Be thankful for your strengths. And listen, be okay with your imperfections. I'm not the girl who is the party girl and loves to go out all the time. I'm the introvert, and it's hard for me to get in the car and go anywhere. So accept that that's one of my imperfections. That's the thing I'm hard at. And ask for some help. Okay, you want to go to a networking event, or maybe you just know you should, but you really don't want to because you're the introvert. Ask somebody to go with you. And ask somebody to go with you, and when you get there, to push you out of the nest. Because I've already been at a networking event and seen another girlfriend that I knew really well, and we're both introverts, and so we were stuck together. We stood there talking the whole time, and she finally said, this isn't why we're here. We really need to split up. I'm like, okay, you're right. up and went and started talking to other people. But that's hard. But, find the people who will support you and help you do that. Another thing to do is when you start comparing yourself to others, and yeah, they're different than you, don't put them down, because that is the easiest way to make yourself feel better, right? Start ripping other people apart. And I feel like we have some awesome lady bosses on this call, and I just feel pretty confident that the most of you don't do that. But we can probably all slip into different levels of it, okay? You might do it on that kind of a level. You don't totally trash people, but you might say things here and there that undermine, and I know I've done it, and that's wrong. So try really hard to not put others down. It's not going to work. You're not going to feel better about yourself in the way that you should. And then focus on the journey, okay? Just, row your own boat. That's what it is. Don't even be looking around. Pretend you're a boat in the middle of the lake. You're not a boat in a race on the Schuylkill, on the Dadvale Regatta. You're just all by yourself. You're rowing your own boat. You're on your own journey. So focus on that. Focus on what you have to do to get to the next step. Focus on what you have to do to reach your goals. Don't be looking all around and like, oh man, she's, a mile ahead of me. No, she's not. You're in the lake by yourself. So just focus on what you have to do next to get to the next step. And I think Pam said it this morning, and I also have read it a million times, but don't compare your day 1 with somebody else's day 20 or somebody else's year 20. How many times do you start something and you've been doing it for a month and you start comparing yourself to somebody who's been doing it for 8 years and wonder why you're not, making 6 figures yet? That's totally unrealistic. So you don't want to do that. And learn to love the concept of enough. When we look around and start comparing, you get real jealous of the person who's making 6 figures or who's making $250,000. Do any of us really need $250,000 a year to live? No, we really don't. Focus on what's enough, because the thing is, you really do have enough to be happy, no matter how little you have. If your focus is on things positive instead of things negative, you always have enough to be happy. And that's another thing Pam talked about this morning. She said, we all have the same nature. We could all go for a walk in the forest, and one person can look and be so thankful for the trees and the leaves and the wildlife and the beauty of nature. And somebody else is just complaining about how stony the path is, and they might fall and, twist their ankle and all that. It's all about perspective. So focus on the positive in your journey, and that's just going to make the whole thing better, because it comes down to jealousy. If you're not focusing on the positive steps you're making, you're always looking at other people. It's jealousy, and we know what an ugly head that is when it rears. So learn what you have, learn you're already enough, focus on your journey. And hey, if you don't know if this is the right journey, stay on it anyway. Stay on it for a long enough time for it to make things clear to you. And if you get to the end of it and you think, okay, maybe this isn't what I should do, you haven't failed, but you've learned a lot. You've learned a lot. You've done a lot of work, and that's awesome. So you look at the next thing and you work with people who will surround you and help to not just encourage you, but to talk to you and help you uncover some of the things that they know, because they know you more objectively, that you might really want to pursue next. So stay on your path, give it everything, kick ass at whatever you're doing. And, if it works out, great. If you end up on another journey, Thomas Edison failed 10,000 times, you might want to say, but he says he didn't fail 10,000 times. He just learned 10,000 ways not to create the light bulb. So that's all I've got. Hey, Vicki Fox, I'm so glad you joined. So listen, I hope you'll come back and watch the recording if you haven't been here for the whole thing. Does anybody have any comments or anything they want to say before we wrap up? I hope this helped, because I really think something in the universe is hitting a lot of people with this right now. For whatever reason, it's just a weird thing. We're almost right at 20 minutes. Amy, you want to say hi? Sure. Amy's right here.
Hi.
Hey, Amy. And Lori's over there. Lori's going to come back and say hi too. Anybody who wants to come into my studio audience, granted the room is probably not big enough for even one more person. We'll move to bigger quarters if we get a big crowd. So listen, ladies, have a great week. It's fun spending Tuesday mornings with you. Bye.